Hello, crafty friends. How are you today? It's Club Kit release day from Spellbinders, and I'm going to be playing with this stencil of the month. This one is called Tropical Spray, and I was so excited to ink this up. You get two stencils, and they fit perfectly together like this. When you ink them up, you have to make sure that you get them both right side up, or it could turn out like that. However, that does look kind of interesting. It might be something to try. These look a lot like water splashes. So for my first card, I'm going to ink them up with some blue inks. These are positively saturated inks from Simon Says Stamp. I'm going to tape the stencil onto a piece of white cardstock. This is 120-pound accent opaque white cardstock. I also use this cardstock for my card bases because it is so heavyweight. Let's start out with the lightest color first. This one is called Tide Pool. These ink pads are really juicy, and I did get a little bit of ink underneath the stencil right here. But from here on out, I'm going to tap off the excess onto a piece of scrap paper, just so I don't get any more ink underneath the stencil. This is a 6x6 sized stencil. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this yet, but I just wanted to ink it up and get inspired from there. Sometimes you really have to play with your products before you get a clear idea of what you want to do with it. I'm going to bring in a little bit of a darker color. This one is called Surf. And I'm adding ink just to the points of each shape with a stencil brush, a small brush, so I can get into these small points. This will add some dimension to it. Let's see how this looks. I'll take off the stencil. It is looking so pretty. And now for stencil number 2. I'll tape this one in place. And I'm going to bring in my darkest color, which is called Ocean. Once you're done inking up your stencil, you could really create 2 cards out of this panel. I love the size of these stencils. There's so many fun color combinations that you could use on this stencil. But for this first card, I want kind of an ombre look. So I'll add down the dark ocean ink. All of the club kits this month are tropical or summer themed. They're all just fabulous. I thought I would do a video for each product separately this month. And here is the finished stencil piece. Isn't that beautiful? The white lines in between the ink look really bright to me. So I'm going to add more ink on top of it. You'll still be able to see the pattern, but it's going to take the stark white lines away. I'll put some dark ink at the bottom. Again, this is Ocean. And then I'll add some of the lighter inks up at the top. And this is where I decide I want to make an underwater scene with this. So I don't want there to be any white lines on this piece. I'm going to pull in an older die set from last year, and it was from the Large Die of the Month Club. And it was from June of 2023, and it's called Whale in a Bottle. Okay, so here's my completed stenciling, but I'm going to add a whale to this card. I'm going to cut this panel into a few pieces, and I'm using some dies called Make-A-Wish Arch Labels. These are really cute because they have lines embossed around the arch. So here's my first piece, and I thought it would look nice with this dark navy blue cardstock. But I'm going to take this larger piece again and cut it down once more. My cards transition a lot, but this time I thought I'd just leave all of the transitions I'm going through in the video. The cardstock I decided to use behind my stenciled pieces is from Spellbinders, and it's a dark teal called Lagoon. I'm going to glue down a frame first onto the Lagoon cardstock, and this just barely fits my A2 sized panel. And then for my second panel, I'm going to pop it up with some foam strips. I'll cover this generously with this tape so that it doesn't sag when it goes through the mail. And then I'll peel off the release paper and center this inside the frame. This stenciled piece looks so soft and subtle, but it's going to make a big impact on this card. So here is my whale from Whale in a Bottle die set, and I'm going to change him out too. I already have one whale made up there, but I didn't like this color on the card, so I'm going to add more lagoon cardstock on top of the whale. I'll add the right color on top of his fin. And I have the worst butterfingers. I'm always dropping things. You probably realize that by now if you've been watching me for a while. And then I'll add another flipper on his other side. This just adds more dimension and strength to this die cut piece. I'm bringing in a really old stamp set here for my sentiment. This is called Make a Splash, and this is from Fun Stamper's Journey and Spellbinders when they used to collaborate and make these beautiful red rubber stamps. But I'm going to pull out the sentiment that says Make a Splash, and it just curves beautifully right over the whale. I'll put this in my mini Misty and stamp it out. Pick up the stamp with the door, and I'm going to stamp it out with some VersaFine Onyx black ink. I do stamp it out 3 times, get it good and dark. Because these red rubber stamps are so much thicker than the photopolymer stamps, I had to take out the mouse pad in my mini Misty so that I could stamp this out. Now I just have to be careful not to smudge the sentiment until it dries. I'll glue down the whale next. And then I'm going to bring in a black micron pen, go over the whale's eye, make that black. It's such a small eye that I kind of have to look down over it. So I'm sorry my head gets in the shot here a little bit. I think little details like this make such a huge difference. Now I can glue this to my white top folding card base. Nothing goes better with underwater scenes than clear droplets. I have 3 different sizes here, and I'm going to glue these around the card. These are from Trinity Stamps, and I like this little pack because they have the different sizes in the pack. It's kind of white as I press these on top of the glue, but it will dry clear. And then for one more touch, I'm going to add a clear glitter pen over the dark pieces of the whale. I'm being careful to kind of go around his eye. The micron pens are waterproof, but I'm just being extra cautious. Do his little flipper underneath him. And then this card is done. Here's a close-up look, and look at that shimmer. It's so pretty. I love those clear droplets too. And I absolutely could not just make one card for you using the stencil. So for card number 2, I'm going to make a flamingo card. These also look like plumes. So for a flamingo card, of course, I have to color them in with pink. I'm using Kitsch Flamingo first. This ink is just a little bit darker than my pink sand cardstock. You can see it pretty clearly once I take the stencil off. And then for stencils number 2, I'm going to use Festive Berries, which is a dark pink. Tape this in place. And again, I'm making a full panel from this stencil. And you can keep the leftover bits for decorating the insides of your cards if you want. Or like I said earlier, you could create 2 panels out of this depending on what you're doing with your cards. So let's see how it looks with the Festive Berries. And because of the pink cardstock behind it, the lines in between the ink aren't so stark. So I'm not going to add any extra ink to this. But what I am going to do is add the first stencil back on again and put down some of the clear glitter from this pen. It will move your ink around a little bit. And I was a little worried that I would get underneath the stencil, but it turned out beautiful. And I'll hold this closer to the camera and show you some of that shine. It's hard to catch on camera. I allowed my stencil to dry a little bit, probably not long enough, but I did go ahead and cut it out with one of Spellbinders' mirrored arch labels. This is a piece of Dahlia Pink cardstock. It went really well with the festive berries. And then I cut out a piece of black cardstock using another mirrored arch label, just a size bigger than the pink cardstock. This looks really nice with the black matting because the legs on my flamingo I cut out with black cardstock. To adhere this piece, I'm going to use some liquid glue so I can wiggle it in place if I need to. And then the flamingo is from another really old set from Spellbinders. It's called Plant It Here Dies. And it was meant to be a plastic garden flamingo. But I cut it out and used some more of the festive berry to add accents to it. And I'm going to glue this onto a piece of vellum cardstock that I cut out with an oval die. I'm not sure if this die set is still available. However, Spellbinders has you covered this month if you want a flamingo die. Their large die of the month club for May is called Grand Tropical Flamingos. You get a couple of flamingos in that set. My sentiment comes from the clear stamp of the month club for May. And it says, "I am tickled pink." The clear stamp of the month also has a flamingo involved in it. And I'll be creating a card with that one really soon as well. I'm going to put some little foam bits behind my flamingo and my sentiment and pop this up on the front of my card. I heat embossed the sentiment with some white embossing powder, so I thought I'd bring in some white enamel dots to accent that. I'll use 3 of them. I'll use the largest one down at the bottom, and then a medium-sized one, just right over the sentiment, and then the smallest one above the flamingo. And here is a close-up look at card number 2. I don't know which card I like better. Tell me in the comments which one is your favorite. The links to these products, as always, will be listed in the description box if you want to check them out. I hope you enjoyed this video featuring Spellbinders' stencil of the month for May called Tropical Spray. I'll be back again really soon with more Club Kit inspiration for May. Take care, my crafty friends. I hope you all have a wonderful day.